Hello students, welcome you all on our online lecture series on element of machine design subject. This is our next lecture, and in this lecture we are going to discuss design of a key point. In this point we are going to discuss introduction of key, some consideration while design of key, types of key and their design procedure. So let's move together for our first point, that is introduction to key. We know that key it is a rectangular mild steel piece which is inserted between shaft and hub. This is a diagram of key which is manufactured with a material mild steel, and it is inserted in shaft and pulley or hub. Now the main purpose of pulley is to constrain one relative motion between shaft and pulley, and it always inserted parallel to the shaft. Here you can see that. Consider this is a pulley which is having the internal portion. This is internal hole on that pulley where the shaft is going to insert, and when we rotate this shaft, that time the pulley has to rotate in same direction as the shaft rotates. But in some cases, when the torque or the force applied on that pulley is a maximum, at such condition it may happen when the shaft get rotate in n rpm, but due to the torque apply on the pulley is not rotate with the same rpm, or it get hold due to the torque, and shaft only that shaft is going to rotate. At such condition power transmission losses are happens, and in such condition we use element, it is called as key, and that key is inserted half in shaft and half in a hub or pulley. So when the shaft rotates in one direction, that pulley also rotate in same direction, even though the pulley is having some torque or crushing stress or shearing stress. So when there are use of temporary fastening and subject to the crushing and shearing stresses, at such conditions we use element, it is called as key, and where we insert this key, that portion is called as keyway. It is a slotted portion on shaft. Here you can see that this is a front view in this direction for shaft. In this way we manufactured a keyway portion, and where the key is inserted to get maximum power transmission and locking of 1 degree of freedom, that is in between the relative motion of pulley and shaft. And now there are some consideration in design of key, and these are the consideration of design of key. First point is maximum power to be transmitted. Second is tightness of fit in between shaft and pulley. It must give stability for joints, less cost, failure of key in crushing and shearing. When we insert that key, it get chances of failure in crushing condition and shearing condition. So we have to consider both the stress consideration while designing of key. And the last consideration is material properties of key. Shaft should be same, but key should be weaker than shaft, because it is easy to replace a key instead of a replacing of shaft, or when the shaft is get failed, that time whole assembly it get disturbed. So we prefer the material of key and shaft in such a way that the key is weaker as compared to shaft. Now the next point is types of key. There are 6 types of keys. First one is a shank type of key. You have to write in your notebook. Second one is a round type of key. Third one is a tangent type of key. Fourth one is a saddle type of key. Fifth type of key is splines type of key, and sixth number of key is a key with and without gib head. Okay, now we will see one by one, because in MSBT examination we have one question on types of key, that is how are the keys classified, draw net sketch of different types of key and their applications. So we have to know that what is the application of key and their diagrams too. Here in first type of key, that is in shank type of key, we have 4 types, that is a rectangular shank key, square types of shank key, parallel shank key, and gib headed type of key. We know that key are inserted half in a keyway of shaft and half in a keyway of hub, that is in this way. And here we have the first type, that is a rectangular shank type of key. This is the front view of shaft and key, and this is side view of shaft and keyway. This section is called as a rectangular key, and the dotted portion up to the end point, this section is called as a keyway, where we inserted that rectangular key. When we see that shaft and key from front view, here this section hatching is portion of shaft, and this portion is called as key section, which is half inserted in shaft, and the remaining portion is free to insert in hub portion of pulley. When we have to manufacture that key portion, that is the rectangular portion, before of that we have to know that its dimension, that is width, thickness and length, and all that dimensions are proportional to the diameter one, and there are different proportion while designing the rectangular key, and that proportions are when we have to consider width's parameter. At that time the width is equal to d by 4, that is diameter of shaft divided by 4. Consider the diameter of shaft is 100 mm, and at that condition the width of key is 25 mm, because the proportional limit for width is diameter divided by 4. Now for thickness, the proportion of thickness of key is 2 times of width divided by 3. Here I will write here T is equal to 2 times of width divided by 3, and we know that W is equal to D by 4, and when we put instead of W, that is D by 4, that time we will get T is equal to D by 6. And you have to remember only this portion, that is t is equal to d by 6. So it is easy. W is equal to d by 4 and t is equal to d by 6. The taper in key is 1 in 100 for a rectangular key. Now the second key is a square shunt type of key. Here we have seen the rectangular section where W and T are different because it is a rectangular section, but when it is in a square section, that time W and T both are same, and at such a condition the value of W and T is d by 4. So in square shunt key the parameters W and T are d by 4. Type of key is a parallel shunt type of key, and the parallel shunt key may be rectangular or square, but these parallel type of shunt key are manufactured without taper, because the parallel shunt key are used where it is required to slide the gear, pulley or other mating surfaces on the shaft. So we never use taper for parallel type of shunt key. The next type is a gib headed key. Here you can see that this portion is called as gib headed, and this is a key section, and when we provide gib portion, that time it is called as gib headed key. And it is shunt key are these key easy to remove from the assembly, and the function of shunt key are transmit torque or power between shaft and hub by sharing resistance of key of two mating element. And the second function of gib headed shunt key are it prevent relative motion between shaft and hub. Also the joint the machine element like shaft and gear. These are the different types of key, and in next lecture we are going to discuss design of shunt key, that is design procedure, and depending upon the design we have some numericals on same topic. So we will discuss both the topic, that is design procedure and some numerical, in next lecture.